Hi, my name is Dick Mullen, and we're here in Groveland, Massachusetts, with Justin Gordon, who is going to be the carver of the tree that we just showed you. He's a really interesting guy. I've been doing some research on him over the past couple of days since I first met him, and I just wanted to talk to him. We're down in his workshop here where he starts some of his smaller stuff, which he's working on right now.
Excuse the mess.
Which is a small head carving. So, Justin, tell me, how did you get started in this?
A week after high school, I graduated high school. A week later, I picked up a jackknife hanging around the corner store and just started whittling something, and just kind of progressed from there, and just kept whittling, and then started playing in the snow, and then after 4 years of working piddly jobs, I went to college, kept whittling, and I wanted to go to college for art, but my mother was like, no kid of mine is going to be a GD artist. So I tried music. You don't want to be a musician. And I said, all right, how's engineering? Oh, good choice. So I went for engineering, but kept whittling all along. And just kept the whittling going, and did the engineering, graduated, worked for a whole bunch of years at DoD companies, but still kept doing the wood carving, and finally I got laid off from the last engineering job I had, and pursued sand sculpting for a living at that time.
So and DoD is Department of Defense?
Yes.
Yeah. So that opened the door. Getting laid off actually was a benefit.
That was the boot in the ass I needed to pursue my own.
It woke you up and sent you in the right direction.
In a way of speaking, yeah.
So then, I mean, when somebody does this, I've done this in the past, and if I tried to carve something like this, it would come out funny looking. Did you find that you just had the talent to start with, that it seemed to work for you?
Well, no. Everything I do, I've done a long time ago. I look back and say, oh my God, looks like crap. But, so I'll just tell you, you need more practice. Like everything, you need more practice. You want to get good at it, you just need more practice. I mean, I've been doing this for over 39 years. If you do anything that long, you better get good at it, or you don't belong there.
So then, now the other interesting thing I found about you, the name of your company is Elwin Design.
Yes.
And that was one of my questions. Who's Elwin? And all of a sudden I think, can you tell me more about Elwin? Who Elwin is and how that...
No, Elwin's not a particular person or thing. It's just the name of my company. I got the name when I first started realizing I will pursue this for a living someday. I just started trying to find names. And I look at the history of where I've been, and in '74 when I started carving, I started making these little 3-inch figurines, and as time went on I kept making more of those figurines, and so there were a lot of them. And then when I went to college, I started going to the beach in summers and hanging out at the beach, just getting bored. I started doing sand sculpting, and after a while it was like every mother on the beach would tell their kids when they're frustrated with them, hey, why don't you go see what that man's doing? And before long I'd have all these little kids helping me build sandcastles with moats around the drip sand trees and the skull mountains with the tunnels, and then when the tide started coming in and the kids start realizing everything's going to get wrecked, including my castle, it became a big event. Before long the mothers are like, hey, where's Johnny? You know, and they see the crowd of people over there and they find Johnny in the middle of it making something and doing stuff. And so that involvement with all those kids, plus making the little figurines, when I was looking for a name for my business, somebody at work, the receptionist, was having a baby, and she had a book of names on the counter of the reception desk. And so I just started flipping through it and popped the name Elwin, and it meant friend of the little people, or elf friend. So I like that friend of the little people thing, so it kind of stuck, so I just kept it.
Yeah, that's a cool name. My first thought was maybe you bought the company from something that didn't seem right, but that's a great story how someone gets a name, because people do get names for companies that are pretty boring.
Yeah.
But it ties in so strongly.
Well, it's even funny too. There's a gal that lives in Groveland, and her last name is Elwin. And I met her at the Topsfield Fair one day, and she knew I was from Groveland. She asked me what I was doing and how to get the name. And I told her the story, and she said, "Oh, it's funny." And I looked at her, and she's like a woman, and she's probably 6'5", huge woman, not big but tall.
Uh-huh.
and she didn't know that her name meant friend of the little people. And it was funny because her whole family was these giants, so it's pretty appropriate.
Now, one of the things I wonder, and I see people when they're doing art with people, and I'm kind of getting the sense it doesn't bother you. Do you work best with an audience or on your own? For example, when you're doing a tree, and you're out in somebody's yard or in somebody's in their place, and people start coming around.
I don't think it matters.
Either way,
Yeah.
you feel confident. Like some people would feel like, I know artists that don't want to work in front of people. Strangely, they're reclusive. They'll
Okay.
work, but if you put people in their space, they go crazy. They want to send you away. So, but
Is that the temperamental artiste?
yeah, probably the temperamental artiste.
No, it doesn't bother me working in front of people. I don't think it changes my level of outcome. The only effect that has on my outcome is like a time constraint. If I'm doing a sand sculpture, say at the Topsfield Fair or at Hampton Beach in the competition, you only have so much time, and you
Right.
have to get it done in that amount of time. So whatever you do has to meet the time frame allowed. So you may have to carve faster than you would normally like to. In that regard, it could change the level of detail you work to. But and working at my desk, if I'm doing a commission or something, I also have a time frame, so to speak. But I can here it's more comfortable. I've got my radio, I have the cats, everything's comfortable, and it's a little more easy to work here. And I can probably put more detail working into things here because I don't have as much of a time constraint as I do outside the house.
Mm-hmm. Have you been inspired by any particular artist or other people? Or are you kind of the self-made artist, or do you look towards other people and say, wow, that's really a great piece of work, I'm going to try to duplicate that?
I have looked at a lot of works and said, boy, I'd really like to try that. And I've done that a couple of times. As far as classical artists, I mean, all the classical sculptors of our history, world history, like all the guys over in Italy, Angelo, who's the other
Da
guy?
Vinci.
Da Vinci. All those guys were really great sculptors. Those are the classic
Mhm.
artists, sculptors that everybody looks up to. But myself, I'll just see things here and there that someone made and says, wow, that's really nice. I'd either like to try doing something like that, or I like this idea, part of it, and I can apply that to something else on my own, or I'm inspired by a lot of things and people that just do nice things and have done nice things. If I can use what they have and incorporate it into what I have to do, that's great. If not, it's no big deal. I'm trying to think of something on my own. You get inspired everywhere.
Well, here's what I'm interested in is when you see a piece like we're looking at the tree down in Trestle Way. And have you been there and seen the tree?
I've seen it.
And to me, it's like I'm trying to see where an eagle would come from. And I remember reading about Michelangelo, how he'd walk around and he'd see a block of granite, and all of a sudden that would be the one. And he could see he said he could see the statue within it, and all he had to do was really easy, just get rid of the excess material.
Just clean it off.
Yeah, and is that how you see it when you see a tree like that? How do you?
I hear that line about Michelangelo saying that all the time, and a lot of people. I mean, when I have commissioned tree carvings to do, some people think I can just come and look at the tree and something will speak to me from the tree, and I'll be so inspired. The big artist thing. And it doesn't really work that way, at least not for me. I mean, sometimes I'll look at the tree and something will be obvious that'll look like something, and that may happen. However, most of the time it's, okay, what do you want in that tree? It's this big, whatever you want has to fit within it. It'll be this big or this big, however the tree allows. So and as far as I'm concerned, when I hear the story about Angelo looking at the piece of marble, I'm thinking, in reality, he was probably looking at the piece of marble saying, that one's got a crack, this one doesn't, I want that one. And he'll take that piece of marble versus a crappy piece of marble, and he can put whatever he wants in that good piece of marble. That's how I kind of think it may have happened realistically, because at his level, he could see anything he wants in anything he wants. So that story is cute and nice, but I don't think that's really how it works. And I think it's the mystique of the artiste thing that story talks about, but so I really don't operate that way. I mean, she wants an eagle in the tree. The tree is this big. The eagle can be sitting. The eagle can be flying. I mean, it can be up on its wingtip. It can be holding a fish. It can be doing anything that will fit within that tree. So that's how it works.
Okay. Now this is going to be. Do you do any research on projects before you do them? For example, let's say we're doing the eagle and Trestle Way. Do you just go in and do it? I'm going to guess, and I think the difference is you'd really be a craftsman. This is a craft to you.
I have to make a living.
So it's a living and a craft where you're not really going out to produce the best piece of art that has ever existed. Like Michelangelo did have people that paid him to do that. You know, he used to give him money so he could exist. So you like to turn things into, this is a great way, it's a great job.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, I mean.
It beats a desk job, that's for damn sure.
Right, I mean, there's not too many jobs where you can go out and just look for a piece of material and then turn it into something and people look at it and give you money for it. That's kind of a nice way to
Well, it doesn't always work that way because people don't always give you money for it. I mean, I have a house full of carvings. I thought, oh, this is a beautiful carving. I really want to do that. And it's been sitting up on my mantle for the last 15 years. So it's not like, you make something and people are going to give you money for it. There are some stories where people will do a show, an artist will do a show, and some guy likes his work, and he'll buy anything he makes. I mean, that's the glory story. That's the one we all look for.
Right.
But it doesn't always happen.
So how do people get to see your work, though?
Either online.
Online.
If they're thinking of something. Word of mouth is probably my biggest form of advertising. If you Google tree carvings, my name is one of the ones that comes up in New England. If you Google sand sculptures in New England, my name is one that comes up. So probably word of mouth and probably just a little bit of research, and my name will come up.
That's and how long? One of the things a couple of people have asked me, and of course there's always people who anything that's new, they struggle with change. And one of the biggest things somebody said to me, oh, you guys are crazy, you're going to carve an eagle in that tree and it's only going to last a couple of years. What's your where do you stand on how long something like that will last?
I probably wouldn't spend that amount of money for a tree carving to remain a tree carving. And in that regard, I explained to people I would rather make your tree carving but leave something at the base of uncarved material so that when a tree that will eventually begin to rot, when it begins to rot, you can notice it at the bottom, and when you see that, before that rot gets to the good wood where the carving is, once you see the rot, you can sever the carving and put it in a more permanent and suitable location where it won't deteriorate with the elements. So I would not prefer to have things left as a tree carving because as a tree they will just rot.
Okay, that's good. So that's good for us to know because we should plan in that and say.
That's already in the plan. It's already been explained to Diane, and
good.
That idea has already been put on the table and left there as something that has to be.
Okay, so the next portion of this sometime down the line is to get a little base and put it on it so it stays forever.
And it will be inside someplace. Yeah.
Oh, that would be the ideal thing, to find an inside location for it eventually, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, those are good ideas.
There are other avenues too where. Like there's a lady I did a tree carving for down in Hudson, and she wanted a life-size Indian man shooting an arrow to the sky with a dog up on a knee that was elevated on a rock. And when that thing started rotting, she wanted to preserve it, so she got in contact with a guy down in Woburn who does monuments. I cut the carving free. We loaded it into a truck and hauled it off to his shop where he made a cast out of it. So it's now a resin cast. And the same thing happened with a carving I did in Woburn. And since that guy is in Woburn, the monument guy, when that carving started to deteriorate, they had me cut it free and they brought it over to him and he did an exact replica of it in a resin. And they now have that somewhere in town. But they have the original, I think at the town hall or someplace like that. So they can be preserved in a better medium, resin, much more durable than any kind of wood.
Okay.
So there are other avenues you can go to, but yeah, just cutting it free before the rot gets to it and putting it inside is the best way to go.
Okay. Well, I think these are great ideas because these are a lot of the things that people talk about, especially, we're in a fundraising project, so a lot of the people from the community are going to join us in this so that we can have a reasonable Actually, we want a really nice piece of work, and I think when I've seen what you've done, I'm amazed at some of the stuff you've done. It's great, and you know, it probably seems normal to you, but like for someone like who's not able to do some of this stuff, I mean, these are simple tools too. But that's another thing I want. You do work with a relatively simple technology, don't you? I mean, chainsaws is probably the most elaborate technology you use. Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much.
And everything else is hand tools?
Pretty much, for the most part. I do have some small power carving motors that hang and you can grind with, but for the most part it's hand tools.
Okay, great. Well, I think I learned what I needed to learn, and I think we're going to be meeting Justin several times in the future as we put these projects together and get some fundraising and actually get him started out there. So the next time we'll meet him, we'll be more than likely out by the tree, and hopefully he's got his chainsaw revved up and ready to go so we can get some real noise in there.
Well, we still have to sit down with Diane and discuss exactly what kind of pose she wants. And I recall that the actual pose is yet to be decided, and that'll be determined by how much time it'll take me to do whatever it takes. So,
Okay.
They're raising money for a really nice carving, but whatever the amount of money is that will get whatever carving they want.
Right.
It'll all fit within the price range that they acquire.
Yeah. And I think we all decided not to do, and I mean, from your skill and your craft, it would really be not worthy of the work, I think, to have just a rough, quick eagle put there. I think a great eagle would be.
I wouldn't put a rough, quick eagle there. Either way I do it, I make it look nice, at least.
Okay.
But Diane's requested something really nice, so it'll have more detail than a typical chainsaw carving finished up with hand tools.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, this afternoon we're going to meet with Diane and a couple of members of the board from the Georgetown Housing Authority. So a lot of these things that we're talking about they're in the nucleus now to get started to make sure that everything's going right, and it's going to be something that's beneficial and something that a veteran would want to come down and look at and use it as kind of a memorial to some of the people that never made it back.
Right.
Those are the people who are really.
Well, I wanted to be a part of it, and I really like the idea behind it all. It's really
great.
Nice.
Hey, thanks a lot, Justin.
Thank you.
So this is the tree we're talking about. This is the stump. It was obviously, you can see the size of this. It was a tremendous tree. It had shade all over this lawn here, but then with the structural problem, they cut it to here, and Diane saw it and realized that if we stopped there, we could have some sort of we could do something with this tree by making a carving. So this is where it comes from, and this is where we are at this point.